Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on your time zone. We are live. We're here at Career Journeys with Coach Stella. I am your host, Coach Stella, on with the fabulous Dr. J. Nicole. I am so excited to dive into this career journey. This is a big full circle moment for me. I don't know if Dr. J, you're having the same one as well right now, but I'm so excited to talk with you today. How are you?
I'm so good, Stella. Thank you so much for being here. So, preparing for this, I started thinking about the Fab Five. So, you
Same.
want to tell the story, or you want me to tell the story?
Listen, let's start. You'll tell the story because you are a great storyteller. But before we do that, I want to give you all the flowers right now
Okay.
because I think it will help with the context of where we've started and where we are now in our own career journey. So let me start with the introduction,
Okay.
okay? If you don't mind.
Go right
All
ahead.
right. So let me take the banner off. We all know what we're here today for. So this November, I am doing a special spotlight for those who are in the mental health wellness space. Not only talking through their career journeys, but also how they've gone through any healing while working scenarios and strategies that we have all experienced at some point in our professional careers. And so, without further ado, I would love to introduce to you today Dr. J. Nicole Simpson, who is a licensed therapist, entrepreneur, and host of the Rise and Thrive with Dr. J. Nicole podcast. As CEO of Evolve Therapy and Wellness, she helps individuals align mind, body, and spirit through faith, healing, and purpose driven living. Known for blending mental health expertise with spiritual wisdom, Dr. J. Nicole is passionate about helping people rise in faith and thrive in their purpose. Welcome to Career Journeys, Dr. J. Nicole.
Thank you,
Uh,
and happy to be here.
yes. All right. So, yes, please share our story. How did we connect and come together?
Yes. So Coach Stella and I met in our very first full-time jobs. Had never met each other before, but that's just the way that God works when you have people just intersecting and coming from completely different backgrounds. So we both worked together as resident directors at a university in the DC metro area. And there was a group of us that started at the same time, and we called ourselves the Fab Five. That's the easy version of it, the simple version. But yeah, so I've known you then, Stella. Ooh, we are coming up on 20 years.
We are. I was
We are
doing
coming
the
up
math
on 20
this
years.
morning and I was in
Yeah.
denial. I was in denial for a second, but I was like, you know what? God is good. 2 decades. Come
And you
on.
got the proof in your life where you see he's been working that the 2 decades make sense. But I just think when we like look in the mirror, it's like, what? How? I was just okay.
It really does feel like yesterday. And I have to just, before we dive in, this is honestly why one of the reasons why I created this platform. I wanted to give space for people to talk about their career journeys. And you are right. I think the Fab Five, that role straight out of grad school,
Yeah.
grown, thought we were grown.
Oh, you're absolutely correct.
But the number one thing from that is this was truly when we talk about the workplace and we talk about finding your community and your people, your tribe.
Yeah.
I mean, I took at the time, I'll speak for myself. I don't know if you feel the same. I took for granted
Hmm.
the community that we just organically formed as new staff, and then we had other staff. I mean, the onboarding experience and everything is as I do trainings today with companies, I
Yeah.
literally lean on things that were done for us and that we
Hmm.
did for one another in those 3 years. So
Yeah.
in the 3 years that you and I were together, I know I was one of the first ones to leave, but yeah.
Yeah. I stayed in that role for wait, hold on, 4 years. And then I went over to the business school and career services. Yeah.
Yes.
I was still at the
Yes.
same institution. Hmm.
All right. So let's dive in. Let's dive in. So I know I talked, gave your brief intro, but if you could just tell us a little bit more about yourself, your as it relates to your background, and anything that you think folks would be helpful for folks to know as you dive into your journey.
Yeah. So I guess I'll start by saying, like, I come from very humble beginnings, a girl from the south side of Racine, Wisconsin. And for context, that's a little further southeast of Milwaukee, but north of Chicago, right? So we're right in between there. And so my home city was very much influenced by the culture of Chicago. So grew up in a single parent household initially. Um, my mother, she had issues with substance abuse. She's currently clean, 4 solid years clean and sober now. But her addiction led to me and my siblings being raised by family, which had a profound impact just on me and my desire for education and to live a completely different life. As much as I could be. And so I knew at an early age that education would be the vehicle to transform my life. And God was an influence for me. I don't know why I was like 5 years old, wanting to go to church, asking to go to church. So those beginnings with faith, but I didn't have it easy. But what was beautiful is I was raised by my great aunt, and with her, I got stability. And that's where I was able to strive academically and, get through K through 12. There were some bumps in the road, just that things that challenges that no one could have foreseen. And, once I got to college, I started getting involved as a student leader. I did almost every student leader position you could do, aside from being an orientation leader, which led me into a career in higher ed, and then ultimately to crossing paths with you professionally. So, yeah, that's the quick where that started. But while in that resident director role, I found myself doing so much counseling, coaching, and that I'm like, I need to get paid for this. So, I had to take some time to reflect to see what that looked like. I knew I wanted to get a PhD. I applied to a PhD program, initially did not get accepted. And so that's how I ended up in that career services role, because I went ahead and launched a full job search. And I had so many applicable skills that carried over into that. And I had also done an internship while in grad school that focused in career services that also helped prepare me for that. And so while in that role, I was just trying to figure it out. Like, I literally remember being in my office talking to God, like, God, what's next? Because I could feel that this wasn't a space that I was supposed to be. It wasn't the soil where I was supposed to plant roots. And what I've learned is that God will make you uncomfortable in places he doesn't intend for you to stay. That was a place for me to get more skills so that I can move on to the next. It was just part of the journey on the path to purpose. And so that led me into looking into programs for mental health. I didn't know if I was going to do counseling psychology. I didn't know social work was even an option for mental health. It was actually Shamika came into my office and she was talking to me and I was telling her about programs. And she's like, actually, my therapist, she got a master's in social work. I was like, really? And so anyone that knows me in grad school, like at U of A, they knew I wanted to move to DC and work at Howard University. Okay, like you could ask anybody from that time. Jeannie's gonna go work at Howard University. I was this close. Um, so once I saw that and I started looking around, I said, finally, I could go to Howard. So I applied to Howard. I applied to 2 other institutions in this area. And I got in, and it meant I had to do the MSW program. So I already had one master's at this point, but the MSW is what you need to be able to start to work in the clinical space after licensing. And so you get to have field placement experiences where you're supervised, but you're starting to do the work. It's hands-on, like an apprenticeship or an assistantship, right? Like we did preparing to enter into higher ed. And I knew I wanted to do a PhD as well. And I had missed the deadline for like to do the dual track. So I did them separate. But it was very much an amazing journey. And so went straight from that master's in social work into the PhD, did my licensing somewhere in the PhD journey. Um, and then I went to work for a behavioral health practice, transitioned into working into a private practice. And then God gave me my own business.
Wow. Wow. First of all, I don't know. This is why I say you're a great storyteller because you just talked through K through 12, undergraduate, two masters, and a doc program. Perfect. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
I could
And
have gone.
so,
I could have gone longer, but I know we have limited time.
yes. We do, but you are a pro at this, and so much to unpack there. If you don't mind, could we go all the way back? What resonated with me, what stood out to me about your childhood is amidst all of the barriers and I know you didn't use this term, but correct me if I'm wrong,
Mhm.
trauma,
Yeah,
from
I
going from
did.
one household to another.
Yeah.
Yet education was still in the dream, in the vision. Talk to me about how at such an early age you one made the decision to devote your life to Christ, and two know that education was your path out of this space.
Yeah. So we weren't exactly rich people, right? Like when I was living with my mom, we were on food stamps, right? And I was aware of that, but so were many of the people in our neighborhood. But then once I was in the guardianship of my great aunt, right? Like I would say we were middle class. Um, but I didn't, okay, so I'm gonna tell the story. I think I may have shared this like one other time. So I got to school, I missed a lot of school with my mom. I was in kindergarten with her. I missed a lot of school. I didn't know I was behind when I got to first grade. It wasn't until I found a report card that said I struggled with reading in first grade. My aunt never told me that. But I always liked school. I liked people. Like I loved when the book fairs used to travel and like come to the school. So I liked reading, but I was just behind because of the gaps that I had from missing school in kindergarten. But that was the last time anything was ever on my report card that said anything like that. Like my brother would tell you, if he was told to help me with homework or anything, he said, Jeannie, I would teach you one time and you would get it. I would never have to teach you again. So that was something that God gave me. I enjoyed school. Then I started seeing the grades. I was on honor roll and I enjoyed it. And then growing up in the 90s where a mind is a terrible thing to waste. The commercials were working. That was actually really good, like programming and seed planting and just being affirmed through what I was watching on TV, seeing, like Moesha and her friends be at school and then just like other things. The TV began to be flooded with more images. Of course, the Cosby's, a different world. And I just would look at the TV and it was like I was there, like I was seeing my life. And that's what I knew I wanted to do. It was just like these are my people. It's how I felt without knowing that that's what was happening and just taking that in. And it really does speak to like visualizing, being able to see yourself. And I was the first in my family to go to college. So I'm first generation, college student. I have some cousins who have since they're not immediate cousins, but like our family, we're tight, but it's like multiple generations in there. So there are other people with education, but like no one from my grandmother's down had gone to college.
Mhm.
And one thing about my aunt, she didn't play about school and she did not play about church. So that meant every Sunday morning for Sunday school, the church band picked us up. We stayed there for the main service. We got dropped back off because she'd go sometimes, but not all the time. Then we'd go back again for the 6 p.m. evening service. On Wednesday, we were in Bible study. Some Fridays or Saturdays, if we did youth things, we were there for that. And then I even joined we had like a chorus, a choir for teens. So I even joined that at some point. So I was just spending so much time like doing church things, but I wanted to be like everybody else and go skating on Wednesday at Skate Town. But I had to go to church. And so, that was normal. And I always believed in God. And I can't remember who or what planted the earliest roots. I mean, my mom taught us how to pray. I think I can say that. And then I finally got baptized when I was 11. Like that day, I was sitting in church. I had no idea. I felt what I now know is the Holy Spirit, kind of like the chills creeping up through my body. And I just felt compelled. I went up and I got baptized.
Wow.
And so faith has always been important to me, even though once I got to college, transportation, trying to get to and from church, I fell off, right? And then we didn't have online church that you could just like hop on and stream and watch. So it was a journey to get back consistent, but like God was always there the entire time, always covering me. The Holy Spirit gave me confirmation with so many different decisions that I made throughout my life. And like, even though I may have strayed at times, or maybe I was living and, trying to figure this thing out, God never took his hands off me.
We're human. We're human. And
Yeah.
mercy and grace has been shown to you throughout your entire journey from childhood to college into the profession.
Yeah, because
Thank
there's no
you.
other explanation for me being here as Dr. J. Nicole Simpson. And I didn't even get into the roots of it. My father wasn't present like that in my life. We didn't really develop a relationship until after I graduated from high school. And he also had his own issues with alcohol and substances. So I would always say I'm the best of those things. Like my uncle, he always says, your dad was supposed to be a millionaire. You're like, with his intelligence, he's like, you and your sisters, y'all are supposed to be millionaires. And I'm like, I believe you, Unc.
And I truly do believe that I hear so many stories when we talk about generations and lineage, especially within the African American community, and even the immigrant story, come being a
Right.
child of immigrants. Your title, our current role, or our parents and uncles and grandparents' roles didn't define their intellect. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of missed opportunities and talent
Yeah.
that the world has missed out on,
Yeah.
because of barriers and challenges and, societal
Mm-hmm.
isms, all the isms.
Yes.
So yeah, I think your uncle is not wrong, and there's so many stories like that, but, the beauty of lineage, the beauty um of bearing children
Mm-hmm.
is that that opportunity is still there.
Yeah.
And you took that opportunity and ran with it.
I did. And Stella, when you talk about that, right? So I am um a descendant of the enslaved, right? Individuals that were enslaved. And last year, so I've gone to the continent before, but I hadn't gone to any country where I had lineage. And so last year I went to Ghana, and I went to the last bath site, and the door of no return. And when I got there, I just cried because I was like, I just completed the circle. No one was intended to come back. When my ancestors were put on that boat, no one was ever supposed to come back. And God chose me to be the one to go back and complete this ancestral cycle and to reset it and to make it right.
That's heavy. Ooh, Dr. J, that is heavy.
God is good.
Yeah. You talk, I'm getting chills because you may not know this, but the followers know, my people know that I love a full circle moment. And if
Mhm.
that is not a full circle moment,
Mhm.
what are we here? What are we
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
Wow.
And God is not even done, Stella.
But let's segue because we could be here for hours, and I need to I want to unpack some more. So we
Okay.
talked about healing while working.
Yeah.
And my goodness, if that experience wasn't healing while working. Um, so thinking about that experience and then maybe some others, can
Mhm.
you talk about a time where you found yourself grieving or healing or just simply running on empty, but still having to show up to work? Can you talk about one instance where that may have happened and how you got through it?
Yeah. I'll reference two, but if we got time, we'll dig into the other one. Well, one, I went through an entire season of grief that started with my 5-year-old niece at the time being diagnosed with leukemia. And following that, my paternal grandmother gets cancer the next year. She passes away. Then, the morning of her funeral, one of my cousins is found deceased outside of his mother's house. The next year, I lose Katrina. Then the next year, I lose two younger cousins. And then the next year, I lose my great aunt that raised me. So I went, and there's probably other small, not smaller, but other things that weren't major deaths or cancer. Oh, one of my uncles, he had cancer, but he was able to get treatment. And he's still with us. So going through that, I was literally getting dragged. That was at the end of my master's, that MSW program. And then it trickled over into my PhD. And that was multiple years. So this is 2014 to 2019 that I was functioning like a functioning depressed, high functioning depression essentially is what I was operating in. But I was also used to being in survival mode, right? Because I didn't have this stable beginning, right? Like I've been taking care of myself my entire life. But as I got closer to the end, there was a point in the doctoral program where, and now notice I told you, education was my vehicle. So school has always been my jam. If I can't do nothing else, I'm gonna school. Well, the grief and how grief shows up, and it takes your energy, your concentration, your motivation, all of these things that it can take from you or impair. I was experiencing that, and I knew there was too much happen, like it was happening, and I had to have these conversations and with women that I respect and admire so much. My advisor, academic advisor, was the dean of the School of Social Work. So to have to tell her, I think I need to drop a class and slow down, I was terrified. I was like, they're going to be done with me. Then the doctoral program director, also another strong, dynamic woman, Dr. Patricia Ben Goodley. I told her as well. And then I had to talk to the professor, the social work. She's one of the pillars of the profession, Dr. Ruby Gordine. She's no longer with us. But I had to tell her that I had to drop her class to take it next year because it was really at that point where if I didn't slow down, I was going to crash out academically. And you cannot get C's in a PhD program and definitely not in a core course. So I had to really humble myself to do that and slow down, which put me on a slower track. And that also started to show up in the relationship that I was in. So that's the second part, right? So I was dating, I ended up meeting a man during that journey. We got married, engaged, moved in together, married, all the stuff. He was also working on a doctorate. But before I fully completed my doctoral journey, separation happened just as I was getting ready to dissertate. It's October 2023. My clock ended December 2023. Everything blew up on October 2nd. So I dissertated under duress. I had to move from a different state back here to Maryland, humbly living in my friend's basement, trying to figure it out, continuing to work and support, my clients. And thank God that he gave me that I'm in purpose, that I had it for my clients. But when my work days were over, I was done. right? And then had to muster up what I could to finish the dissertation. But thank God for strong women, because my dean, she's forever my dean. Dr. Sandra Edmonds Crew, she got me through because it had got to a point and I was like, Jeannie, you cannot pull this off on your own. So I had to call her and tell her I need help. And she was like, this is what we're going to do. Bah, 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 bah. Had that plan together, and that's what happened. That's what rolled. I got through it. But, you know, getting through that, then actually completing the divorce process and having to restart my life because I left with like a suitcase and dogs,
Mhm.
my two dogs. I didn't know I was leaving when I left. So this put me on this really deep journey of just being by myself, really getting in touch with and in tune with God and asking God to show me, how did I get here? Not how did I get here with judgment. I really wanted to understand. And God unfolded and showed me my journey, the things that I took in, the things that were said, some of those things that were passed down intergenerationally that, were meant to make me strong, but they had left wounds. And so it was a whole identity shift that had to happen. I had to wipe out that old identity because the old identity allowed me to be in that relationship, in that marriage where I wasn't being treated as I should. Also, I wasn't showing up as my best because I wasn't clear in my identity as a daughter of the King, my identity in Christ. And so rebuilding that's who you see today, right? Like, and people are like, you look so different, and you're, yeah, like all that, that's God, because I
Mhm.
did the work. I went back to therapy. I've gone through therapy multiple times, all those seasons of grief. So I did the work. So I'm a firm believer of Jesus and therapy. Firm believer, because I've done therapy before, but I didn't bring God in. I didn't bring Jesus in, the Holy Spirit in the way that I did this time. And this is
Mhm.
why you're seeing a completely different version and outcome of me, because anyone else, they would have crumbled,
Yeah.
been in the rubble.
Yeah.
Mm,
When we you talked about it earlier, you said you were in survival mode,
yeah.
and we'll be so surprised how far down we can go and we can operate in survival mode. We are surprised how far and how long we can go as high functionally depressed individuals.
Oh yeah.
Um, and so, thank you, one, for sharing that and expounding upon. I know that I remember when Katrina passed, you reached out to me, and even your
Mm,
voice, I knew you were in deep grief, and so even your energy and voice being
mm,
different, I just chalked that up to um, being in deep grief, with the loss of your sister,
yeah.
and but yeah, had no idea that all the other things that you were also
Mm.
holding and carrying. I remember I asked about the PhD, and you did this long breath. So
Baby, I used to want to quit every week. I had a letter drafted up, ready to be like, I'm gone, y'all. But
yeah, yeah.
it was
I
what it
remember I
was.
remember the long breath you gave, so now there's context to that long sigh you gave, and I asked how it was going.
Listen, just the classroom and then life, because whew, the PhD
Listen.
is not for everybody. When people ask me, see, I'm stuttering. I'm like, when people ask me about it and they're excited, I love that they're excited. I ask the same question every time: what are you prepared to give up? Because it's not like any other type of education. You can be the highest achiever there is. You have not experienced anything like a doctoral journey. You've not.
Yeah, terminal degrees, you just said it, sacrifice. It takes sacrifice. Also, understand these terminal degrees as adults, we're
Mhm.
adults, right? So life is going to life.
Yeah. And it
You
did.
know,
And
and
it
it did,
did.
and
I
it,
got dragged. Hmm.
and as faculty and administration, as much as and as supportive as some of them are, sometimes the system doesn't consider life sometimes and all the
Mhm.
things. So one, you think I'm grateful, one, that you had a village to lean on,
Yeah,
to call on. I think that is the when we talk about healing while working or just building resilience, it can't be done alone.
right. And I have so much empathy now as an adjunct lecturer with my students. They are going through so much, and I'm like, just get your work, just get it done. Now, where I can give them grace, I will give it to them. And I know well enough through my clinical skills when they just trying to play me and they want extra time. Like, no, y'all been knew about this.
Listen, Dr. J and I go way back. We taught our first
We
college We
did.
saw our first college class. I actually reshared it. I did a think piece on LinkedIn a couple years ago, and I was prepping for today. I saw it, and I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and circle the block with that again. And I reposted it.
I almost forgot. I'm gonna have to go look at this post and see the think piece that you did, because that was a fun experience that we had.
Yeah, just talking about Gen Z in the workplace, as a facilitator, going to these workspaces and just hear all the stereotypes and bias and criticism being thrown their way. And I'm like, these are the students I developed in higher ed, in college. Like, hold
They are
on.
everywhere.
I'm
I'm
like,
like,
what?
I don't have children, but I got a lot of children.
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah,
every generation has their stuff. But I think Gen Z I'm hearing a lot more about it. And I
yeah,
think um, I think they deserve to just not experience that. They deserve, to be understood, to be heard, because that's all that we all want in the
yeah,
workplace, to be seen, valued, and heard. And when life happens, we need a space in the workplace to just be able, whether it's a person or a space, to just be able to say, this is what I got going on. Not that you're looking for any handouts but just to be seen, valued, and heard. That goes so much, especially when you're going through
absolutely.
a lot outside the workplace.
Yeah, we definitely have to create those safe spaces
So
for people.
yeah, so talk about the importance of that, creating safe spaces at work. And also, as a therapist, what would you say? So, two-part question.
Mhm.
uh, the importance of creating that safe space at work. And then, what are some everyday daily habits that
Yeah.
an individual can do to feel grounded while healing while working?
These are perfect questions. I literally just did a wellness presentation for a corporate wellness presentation annually. Mental health related like time off cost employers about $42 billion. 42 billion, right? And so that alone, if that doesn't motivate people to make changes in the workplace, to make room for mental wellness, incorporating that as a part of the company culture, then that could look like allowing them to take mental health days, right? Like, and just that is a thing. I believe that is a thing. It is a part of wellness. And for so long with stigma, that has gotten in the way. And so people, they don't want to be looked upon a certain way or feel like they have to disclose certain things. In the workplace, or that's going to jeopardize their performance, their promotion, and raises and things of that nature. So we need to make room for it because we see it on people all of the time. It's just that some behaviors have become acceptable, some of that irritability, those toxic behaviors in the workplace, and we just think that they're intense. And they're a lot of people are showing up with anxiety, and anxiety can show up as irritability. It can show up as, well, obviously burnout is a big part of that, right? Like, and that's a symptom. When burnout goes unchecked, you can have people that are high functioning depressive. You can have people that are operating with anxiety. And then we also have to consider neurodivergence in the workplace as well, and how that shows up and what that looks like with burnout. So it's critical. to the success of the team, to the efficacy of the work, and just whatever the mission is of that organization, that company, it's going to impact your bottom line and whoever your target audience is. So, creating that safe space means that you're going to save money, possibly even make more money, and your client or your target audience is going to be more happy. So, there's huge benefit whether you're in mental health, you're in education, you're in corporate, you're a nonprofit. It's all the same. We have to create spaces for people to be their best. And something that I learned this very early as being a resident director with you, Stella, when we would do the one-on-ones with our RAs, we were really creating a format for them, how to be safe in the workplace, to feel seen, heard, understood, as well as valued. And I would ask them, but how are you? Like, what's happening in your life? Because if something is happening over there, you're not going to be able to perform well over here. So it's important for me to know, because it's all connected. You live here, you go to school here, you work here. We need to know all those things. Um, I wanted to go to the practical, but you go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say, real quick, I was going to co-sign with what you said about, how we did our one-on-ones. I
Mhm.
remember a lot of student employees will come in ready to go to task. I'm like, hold on, foundation, let's check in. How are you? How are classes going?
Yep.
And then we can get into the business, not knowing that, in professionally. And so they go that's why I said, Gen Z gets a bad rap because this is we modeled the way for them. And
Yeah.
guess what? They went into their workplaces requesting one-on-ones and starting with themselves. How am I doing? Because if I don't show up, guess
Mhm.
what? The work gets
Yep.
impacted.
Yep.
So, yes, thank you for highlighting that. Now let's move on to tactics.
Yeah. So, well, one, I think therapy is good for everyone because we have a lot of lived experience that we're towing with us. Some of us might have a trailer hitch on the back of stuff to unpack, and that's real. And sometimes, we don't realize it, but just getting through. There's so much happening in this world right now. Like, it just is beneficial to have someone to talk to unpack it. So if you're not able to, go to therapy, don't have access, find a safe person that you can speak with, that you can confide in. It could even be a faith leader if that's, what you prefer. But having someone to talk to, having community is extremely important. Having outlets for yourself and engaging in wellness behaviors. And there's some things you might already be doing. I will always talk about journaling. Journaling is so impactful because it allows you to process something up to 10 times just by writing it. So you could probably get through so much more stuff because it requires you to go through, you think it. So that means you're hearing it. And we're able to hear without any external noise. We're able to see without something without sight. And so I think that we're that amazing, and that's part of the processing process of journaling, and also incorporating things like taking a break. Some people don't even guard their lunch hour. But if you can take a 5-minute break every once an hour, unless you're in an extended meeting or something like that, where it's, scheduled for longer than that. But if you're the person that's planning these extended meetings, please put a break in there for people. Because folks are going to need to relieve themselves. And also our attention spans, and it may have been updated, but the last time that I knew, the average attention span was 7 minutes. It might be shorter than that now, because I haven't looked that up in quite some time. And even if you are in those spaces and you can't leave, engaging in some breathing exercises. You can do box breathing. We have to breathe anyway to live. So you can be in that meeting, you can do a box breath, right? And do a few rounds of that. So you're inhaling for 4, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, and then you pause for 4, and then you start again. Take as many as you need. You can do this with your eyes open. Nobody has to know that that's what you're doing but you. You could also have what I like to call like a make yourself a little self-soothe kit, or put something in your drawers, whether you're working from home or you're in a physical office. Things that are associated with each of your senses that you enjoy, right? So, like, this is gonna sound like an old lady, but I love a Werther's original, right? So, like, that would be something I would want to put in my kit, like just the way that it tastes, and it's just so, I would probably put like an aromatherapy roller in there, right? Things like peppermint, citrus, anything citrus. So that's lemongrass, grapefruit. Those citrus essential oils are shown to increase work productivity, right? So you could just put a roller ball on, unless you just have a full blown um, humidifier, or a what do we call the things that you put your oils in?
The diffuser.
Thank you, girl. I couldn't get it. That you just, using your diffuser, but you get what I'm saying. Just have things like that. And I think it's important to have visuals in your workspace of your family to motivate you. Remember why you're doing this. I could,
Remember your why.
yes,
I have to put myself on mute when you're talking, Dr. J, because you got the amen choir over here.
please, amen. Okay, because I will. You don't have to be silenced. Come on, get.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing those tactics. And I love how inclusive those tactics are because you're hitting at every senses.
Mm-hmm.
Audience, I hope you're catching this. When it comes to wellness and it comes to these daily practice, are we moving? Are we writing? What are we smelling? What are we taking in? Are we resting our bodies, our temples? Thank you for giving those tactics. And the number one thing is to know that you cannot and should not go through any of this alone. The
Yes.
importance of finding community in the workplace, the importance of finding friends in the workplace. A lot of folks go in, and I'll folks, don't want to speak for the culture, but as Black folks, we're quick to say, "Well, I'm just going to work. These aren't my friends. I'm
Yeah.
just going to work, and life begins after work."
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you 2 decades in, that's not the case. We're spending 40 up to 80 hours in
You know,
some
like,
places. We can't do it alone. We can't live in a vacuum. We have to go out there and find folks. It may not be in your department, but could it be in your division? Could it be within the whole org? Could it be a professional organization? There's a professional organization for everything, everywhere. So finding community and incorporating these daily practices
mhm.
and to, you know, you're a woman of faith. So I always say, and I'm also a woman of faith, I often say as I'm going through things, God may have I'm here, and if God said that I'm to do it, at least he's giving me the tools and setting me up to get through it. I just have
Absolutely.
to not go so far down this rabbit hole of the valley to be able to see. And sometimes I need to be able to depend on other people to shine that light so I can find my way
Yeah.
back.
And a big part of that too, Stella, is you have to be okay not knowing what the next step is, but knowing, like you said, if he brought you to it, if he's giving you the vision, if he's gonna give you provision to get through it, to get to whatever it is he's calling you to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, well, I could talk forever, Dr. J, but can you believe it? Our time is already
Absolutely.
coming to an end. Before we go, though, two things. Would love for folks to be able to connect with you. Can you please share how folks will be able to get in touch, stay in touch with you?
Absolutely. So, if anyone is in the Maryland area, is in the market for a therapist, you can go at www.evolvewithdrjnicole.com. From there, you'll be able to see the services that are offered. I also have a podcast. Episodes drop every Tuesday morning. It's Rise and Thrive with Dr. J. Nicole. You can watch on YouTube, but it's also on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, all of Amazon Music, pretty much everywhere people are taking podcasts. You can find it there. On socials, you can find me on TikTok at Evolve with Dr. J. Nicole. Same with Instagram, Evolve with Dr. J. Nicole. And then the podcast, Rise and Thrive with Dr. J. Nicole on Instagram. I'm also on
Oh,
LinkedIn.
All modalities, everyone, all modalities. And I highly, highly recommend this podcast. If you are going through it, if you are in the whatever space you're in, whatever barriers you may be experiencing, I guarantee you the Rise and Thrive with Dr. J. Nicole podcast will be your saving grace. If you are experiencing a layoff, if you have experienced any type of trauma and still need to show up and perform, this podcast, add this to your toolkit.
Yeah,
So,
we cover every subject of life. From week to week, I have different guests on. They're sharing their experiences, their triumphs. So it's not just me talking at you. It's really engaging a dynamic conversation that allow people to feel seen, heard, understood, and valued. And I was reminded by my sister, for some people, that may be the closest that they get to having therapy by listening to those conversations. So I don't take that lightly at all.
100% agree. All right. So I love to end all my shows with a lightning round of questions to
All
kind of
right.
get folks out. All right. So top of mind thinking, don't think too hard. You ready?
Okay.
All right. What is a morning ritual you try not to break?
Spending time with God. I open the Bible app first thing in the morning.
Mm, love that. A book that has made a huge impact or that you keep coming back to?
I mean, the obvious would be the Bible. But another one is Lying Down with Lions. It was written by former Congressman and Mayor of California, Ron Dellums, a political social worker.
All right. What's one song that automatically shifts your mood when you hear it?
Optimistic by Sounds of Blackness.
Yes. Oh, you are a 90s child through and through.
And
And
you
I must highlight, you were dropping so many gems. I'm like, I can't, but we don't talk enough about the Black Revolution or Renaissance of the 90s and how Cosby Show, Moesha,
yes,
Girlfriends,
you got
Living Single. I mean, your hair is the 90s with the flip. Listen, come on.
and the swoop. Can't forget the swoop.
You know, I just went to the Brandy Monica concert a couple weeks ago. When I tell you
Mhm.
my whole childhood flashback. So,
Yes.
child, we don't talk about the impact of television
Yes.
had on us in the 90s as kids. Absolutely. All right. Last question. Complete this sentence. Lately, I'm learning to.
Now, see, that one's hot. Flow.
Ooh,
Flow. Just go with the ease of it. Like my flight got canceled coming back from Atlanta. Everyone that I was just texting, they were like, "Oh my god!" Da, da, da." I'm like, "It's fine. I'm just gonna go to my cousin's house. I'll rebook. I'll figure it out." And it was fine. But just yeah, protecting the energy. That flow allows you to protect energy.
love it. Dr. J. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us today. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. You can catch the replay live at Coach Stella on my YouTube channel. We will be back next week as we unpack another career journey of someone in the mental wellness space, as well as hear their career journey and how they got to where they are today professionally. So tune in next Wednesday during the lunch hour or late lunch hour, depending on your time zone. And we will see you soon. Have a good weekend, everyone. Be
Thanks for
well.
having me.